Hi everyone, Alex here, continuing with our Revit from 0 to 100 course. Today we're going to be setting up some sheets. We're going to cut some sections through the model. I'm going to show you how to drop views on sheets. I'm going to briefly talk about modeling views versus sheet views, and I'm going to give you a bunch of tips to adjust those views within your sheet. See you in Revit. And remember, this video is part of our Revit Multi-trade from 0 to 100 course. So if you haven't seen the previous videos, go ahead and watch them now, because if not, you're going to be completely lost. And I think now is a great time to start creating sheets, right? We don't need to wait until the end of the project, right, to start creating sheets. We have some good sections here. We have a floor plan. We have a foundation plan. We have a framing plan. So let's go ahead and get this started. First, I'm going to create another section here. I think this one's going to be very useful. It's like right through the middle of the house, just like that. Then we have this one through the bedrooms. This one's pretty good. And then we have this one through the laundry room and the kitchen. We might want to do another section also in this direction, maybe through the bathroom, something like that. And now let's see what this template has for us. So we have a basement plan. We don't need a basement plan. We could change this, however, into our foundation plan. Let's see if we have a foundation plan. Yeah, we have a foundation plan right here, so we don't need this A0, so I'm going to delete it. We don't have a second floor, so I'm going to delete it. Let's take a look at our first floor plan. Let's see what it's bringing in by default. See, we renamed our first floor as main wood floor. So that's what's showing here. So this is perfect. Notice that the section balls don't have any reference in them. As soon as you drop that particular view into a sheet, this automatically populates and it will update live. So it's good that we have a first floor. I like the scale, 1/4 inch. Looks very good. We have a reflected ceiling plan. We can keep this for later. Second floor, we don't have a second floor, so let's delete it. Roof plan. Let's see. Yeah, we have a roof plan. We haven't developed it yet, but it's great to have it, so let's keep it there. Now we have elevations, right? As you can see, these sheets here have a plus sign, and if you expand them, you see which views are being brought in. So if you see a sheet and it doesn't have a plus sign, it means that it doesn't have a view dropped in yet. So let's take a look at our elevations to see if we can drop some elevations. Here under elevations, we have an east elevation, so let's drop that one in. Obviously this is too big for this sheet, so let's change the scale to, let's say, 1/4 inch. That's a lot better. And the way you modify these elements on the sheet is as follows. If you click anywhere on the view, you can drag and reposition that view wherever you want. Now, something that's a little bit counterintuitive is if I want to adjust the length of this title bar, I would tend to just click on it and try to stretch it or shrink it from here. But that's not the way it works. The way it works is you have to click on the view itself, and then you have this little blue dot activate, and then that's what you can use to shrink that. Notice that by default, the name in the title bar is the name of the view. So if I click on the view, I see the properties of that view, see? So the name of it, the view name is East, see? East, all right? If you change the name of the view and you call it East Elevation, then this name will update automatically. You can also override that with title on sheet. So you can override this with the one I want, and then that's what it would display here. For now, I'm just going to do undo, and I'm going to keep the default name of the view because so far it's working well for me. Let's drop now a west elevation. Let's drop it here. Notice that the sections also appear here. These sections are vertical planes that can cut through, and you can see them from these elevations. You can see them from other sections, and you can see them from floor plans. Now let's zoom out here. You know, you can modify whatever you want from here. You can stretch this out a little bit. Then these levels are a little bit crammed in there, but we'll deal with that later. For now, let's just drop it here and let's keep going. So that's our east elevation. This is our west elevation. So let's click on it and let's change the name just like we did with the other one. So west elevation, and then let's see, we have another sheet here for elevation, so we can drop our north elevation and our south elevation. So north, there you go, south. Oops, that's a little bit too big. In order to change the scale, you don't necessarily need to double click to activate the view, right? You could just click on the view, and then directly from here, you could change the scale to 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. Then just reposition, and then again, just click, and let's shrink this. Let's rename this as north elevation, and then this as south elevation. Let's see what else. We have a spot here for building sections. This is great. So let's go ahead and drop our sections. So here under sections, we have a section 1. Let's open it to see which one that is. Oh, this is huge. And this is huge because we wanted to be able to clearly see the levels while drafting. So this is what I would call a modeling section. So let's go ahead and rename this, and we're going to talk about project organization later on. For now, I'm going to rename this as MV for modeling view, section 1. And then what I'm going to do is duplicate this view, and I'm going to rename this one as SV, section 1. And you know, section 1 doesn't give me too much of a descriptive name, so let's call it section kitchen laundry. Then I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to paste it here. And now I'm going to go back to my sheet, right? And what I'm going to do is remove this from the sheet. This view, I don't want it in my sheet, so I can right click and simply delete. And when you delete, you're not deleting the view, you're just removing it from the sheet. Let me show you something. If I do undo, you see the view is on my sheet, and then this box here turns blue because this view is being used on a sheet. As soon as I remove it from the sheet, so I do right click, delete, now this turns back to white. But if I double click on the section, it's still there. It exists, it's just not on the sheet. So the one I want to drop in there is the SV. And the SV, I'm going to change to 1/4 of an inch per foot. Obviously we have to deal with this level labels here, but for now let's just drop it in there. And I would say let's drop all the sections that cut north to south in the same sheet. Let's see section 4. So this section here is this one here. You can also open it from here directly. See, if I double click, I open it up. But this one was also a modeling section. So let's label this as modeling section, MD, section 4. Instead of section 4, I'm going to call it section living room, because that's what it is. And now I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to rename with SV for sheet view, section living room. And then the modeling one, I can keep at a decent scale so I can read my levels properly. And then the sheet view, I'm going to keep at a scale that can fit in the sheet. So let me go back to my building section sheet, and I'm going to drop it in there. Again, notice that it's white, and as soon as I drop it into a sheet, now it becomes blue. So let's make this a little tighter here. I'm going to modify this crop region to shrink a little bit here. I'm going to leave some space here for my roof, so I'm going to leave that like that. But I don't want to see it, so I'm going to make it invisible. That looks a lot more professional, right? Now I'm going to get my title. If you want to move the title though, you have to click on the title itself. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to move it up a little bit, and then I can double click here and I can shrink this like that. And the same with this one. Maybe like this. Very good. Let's go to the other one. I can also click on the view and just nudge it using my arrow keys, right? Now I'm going to click on my title bar, move it up a little bit, and I think I can fit my last one here, which is the one that's going to go through the bedrooms. If I want to find it, I can come here, double click, and then it becomes bolded here, right? So I'm going to rename it with something more descriptive. It's going to be called section bedrooms. I'm going to proceed with an MV because it's a modeling views. Remember the levels? This is not going to fit in my sheet. And I'm going to make a duplicate. And I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to rename as section view bedrooms. And now I'm going to go back to my building sections and then drop it in there. Oops, seems like I didn't change the scale. Actually, I'm just going to undo. You don't really have to go into the view. You can simply click on the view and change the scale right here. So let's change it to 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. And now we drop it on our sheet, our crop region. But before, let's adjust it a little bit. I don't think we'll need anything under the footing, so that's fine. And now we can turn it off. And then this would be a good use for that overriding of the title, right? Because I have it as V, just for me to identify that this is a sheet view. But the reviewer or the owner doesn't necessarily want to see this. So what I can do is click here and then grab this name, copy it, and then here under title on sheet, I can paste there, and then that will overwrite. Same thing here. I'm going to click here, section living room, copy, title on sheet, section living room, boom, gone. And lastly, this one. Section kitchen laundry, title and sheet, section kitchen laundry. Very good. And then notice that this one I have it as shaded, this one is hidden. So just to be consistent, let's make them all hidden. So I'm going to double click here and change this shading to a hidden line. And I'm going to double click here. I'm going to make this one hidden line. Very nice. Let's go to our next sheet, building sections, and now here we can drop the ones that are looking north, for example. Main looking north. I'm going to put the MV in front because it's a modeling section. And I'm going to create a copy of it. I'm going to change that one. Let's see the scale. This one's actually at 1/4 of an inch, so that's fine. But I do want to rename it as SV because it's a sheet view. Let's just drop the sheet view main section looking north right here. And it's set up as hidden. That's good. Let's turn off our crop box. And now notice that since we have been dropping our other views onto sheets, see this one's in 1A8, 2A8, and 3A8. And that makes a lot of sense because we just dropped those 1, 2, and 3 into sheet A8. Excellent. So we're populating a lot here. Then, you know, we have some spots for wall sections. We'll do that later. We even have schedules set up. So let's double click. Let's see what we have here. Wow. So we have the door schedule, room finish schedule, window schedule. So this window schedule is going to become very useful later. Let's just stretch this out a little bit because it's driving me crazy. And later on, I'm going to show you how to create new sheets and how to your sheet numbers and your sheet titles and the project information and revisions and all that. For now, we're going to wrap it up for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.